in practice, so there's no reason why Radicic here couldn't get up there and do the business and mix it with these boys. But he won't be throwing the old Ford around like he does the Mondeo and the BTC.
I think the two people that are watching this race really are Peter Brock and Paul Radicic, who are basically last and second last.
All right, here they go. Race number 3 to wrap up Pukekohe, the Mobil Auckland Sprint. Has been a sensational day today. We'll update the point situation throughout the race. Let's see if Murphy gets a better start. He does this time. John Bell making a good move too. So's Dick Johnson. Tricky Dicky down the outside, straight up into second. Oh, sensational stuff by the Queenslander.
Steve's heart's beating really hard because it's great to see his dad's team doing so well at the start of this race. Longhurst or someone actually clipped the tyres and sent them flying. Not sure who that was, because there's a big ruck of cars really stuck together there at the back half of the grid. But a great start from Murphy this time. No balking on the start line. No problems whatsoever. Really nailed it and got away clean.
No, he actually got the start absolutely perfect. Then he must have got the revs just right, slipped the clutch just that enough, and he got away perfect. But I tell you what, the old man didn't do too bad a job either.
Oh, sensational start by Tricky Dicky.
Oi.
Look at John Bell. He's come back and says, hey, what are you doing?
JB hit him, I'm sure of it.
He's lost another place too. I think one of the other cars snuck in front of him. Yes, it's Russell Ingall, I think, of the Castrol Commodore has snuck up there as well.
Yes, and anyone thinks that there's T-borders in there, you better think again, haven't you?
Indeed, that's right. Well, maybe there will be after this meeting.
We go on board the 05 car of Peter Brock. Sensational shot, the man behind the wheel. As he hasn't got the race face on today, but I think he'll have it on next week round Wellington. Great shot from the 3-Sport team here at Pukekohe today.
Oh, Radisson through the dirt.
Is that Paul?
That is Paul.
Yep, damage too on the front spoiler. That's not going to help his chances at all. In fact, that's goodbye, really, to any chance of getting a good place in this race.
Yeah, once you lose your spoiler there, the under trail the spoiler, you lose too much downforce, and he'll keep up with him there, but unfortunately, it'll be a bit of a drama for him for the rest of the race.
Replay here. Let's see what happened when your dad gets on the outside of his teammate, John Bow. You can see a bit of a nudge there, and he takes a little bit of a wide line.
And once again, coming down through the S's. Oh, straight over the grass. He's done the Lawn Master.
I think probably Paul might have been caught out a little bit by the other guys braking a little bit early and took that route instead of hitting straight up the back of Peter there.
Down the start, finish straight. Look at the dogfight developing down the field. And check this out, Brocky going past, I think it's Larry Perkins. Now you're on board. And that must be the car of Peter Brock, is it?
Sure is. Brocky chasing them through the S's there. Brocky's back in 8th place at the moment, tracking Glenn Seaton. Tony Longhurst ahead of Seaton. And then, of course, Dick Johnson, Alan Jones run up ahead of them.
Now that those tyres are knocked out of the inside here, coming down into the S's down the bottom, you're going to see quite a lot of corner cutting there.
And listen to the sound of this V8.
Boy, is that busy. Look at this traffic jam down at the hairpin. Glenn Seaton still caught up in the midst of that. Right behind the back there of Dad, is it? Yep. Dick Johnson, Peter Brock tracking them.
That was a brave move by Longhurst. He actually passed him around the outside there.
And damage on that car for sure. Look at the damage down the side of it.
Time so far on this race, round about the 58.2, the fastest by Greg Murphy. John Bowden second, 58.6. There's the gap, first, second, third. Look at this. The Commodore of Ingall holding on to the dog. Oh, poor Radicic. He's had a bit of a shocker, hasn't he?
He has, really. Russell Ingall doing a great job here. He's holding down the 3rd spot, way up ahead of Brocky in this fight. That's Longhurst. There's Dick Johnson. Back behind him, Glenn Seaton, then Brocky.
These cars here just sound absolutely fantastic down the straight. They're all 12 of them roaring down there. It's just unbelievable. It's like reminiscing of Conroy Straight at Bathurst.
Yeah, they really hit the high speed too, and it's amazing when you hit the brakes. You've got about 100 metres out, and it's just big braking, isn't it? Late
yeah, basically, I'm not sure where they're braking in these cars. I think they're a little bit later than the Trans Am, but I basically sort of count 2 seconds after the 200, and that's where I brake.
Alan Jones started to give the hurry up to Russell Ingall here. Russell in the Castrol Commodore, leading Alan Jones as Allied Movers Falcon, and AJ really putting the pressure on the last lap.
This could actually be volatile for the points today, seeing as Alan Jones is only 2 points behind John Bow, and John Bow's 2 places ahead of him.
Yeah, well, the point situation, of course, Murphy got it well and truly locked up at the moment, and in the next spot.
Murphy's got 40 points. Jones has got 28. Then it's Bow, and I should say Bow at Seaton with 26 points, Johnson with 24.
I think you're finding now that the Bridgestone tyres are starting to come good with Alan Jones there behind Russell, and Russell's on Dunlops, and he's starting to hurt a little bit at the moment.
Yeah, well, Russell definitely getting picked up there, and AJ really putting the pressure on, but he's getting company from behind as well from Tony Longhurst and his Falcon. And here comes Alan Jones, not going to make it stick though. And Longhurst, even with that damage showing on the left-hand side of the car, not slowing him up at all, that's for sure.
Just a little bit of spoiler damage there, which I don't really think is full under tray is still intact, so I don't really think there's much of a problem there with Tony.
Couple of good fights going on here. There's this one, of course, and right behind them there's a traffic jam as well with Dick, Glenn Seaton, Peter Brock involved in that one.
Let's go on board car number 6. This is Paul Radishitz behind the wheel of the Allied Movers Ford Falcon.
He looks very relaxed there, doesn't he?
He always does, eh? Yeah,
he does.
Actually, I've had the pleasure of going for a blad around the track at a Ford Mondeo with him, and he really says it's amazing going from 300 to 600 horsepower, the difference between rear-wheel drive and front-wheel drive. But give him a tin top and he's into it. 2-litre World Touring Car Champion, of course, 93, 94. And looks like he might be moving into the pits.
Yeah, definitely a pit caller. So much damage on the front there that really it's a bit of a lost cause, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah, you're really fighting an uphill battle with that. You can see how badly the under tray stuck under the car, and that's liable to release itself from there and go under and puncture a wheel down the straight, and that could be disaster for him.
Well, as MT said, he's had a disappointing year with the Mondeo being off the pace in the British Touring Car Championships. He was hoping to come back here and have a great time, of course, but looks like the old bad luck blues continue.
Oh, accident there for Alan Jones. Tangles with, is it Larry Perkins? Brocky's caught out there as well. So AJ's run, which had him up in 4th spot, that's taken a dive. He winds it back onto the track. He'll be running on mad for a bit now, probably.
And Jonesy is fairly renowned to fire up quite a bit, so it's going to be some sparks when he comes into the pits next time.
He had it off in practice, didn't he, just down by going into the railway corner, so it'll be interesting to see what actually happened that time as they closed in on the hairpin.
And you're
behind Peter Brock's. This is the view from Brocky's. He was forced out wide from Glenn Seaton. And at this stage, someone's had a tap there.
I actually think Jonesy's tried to go down the inside of Russell and lock the backs up. Like I was saying, you need to be fairly brave, and unfortunately hasn't pulled it off.
Well, he's already been given a nudge from behind, and now he's clipped Russell Ingall, and there he goes.
Yep. Well, Russell Ingall, that's knocked him back down the order too to about 7th spot now in all of that push and shove.
It's really opened it up for Bear, who's actually closing on Murphy.
Longhurst picks up the 3rd spot as well behind Murph and John Bow.
So I suppose it's whether or not Murphy's tyres are starting to go off.
Could well be, or with the way Murphy thinks he's a fairly cool operator, I really think that he could be backing off just a little bit, just to make sure that he does get to the finish without destroying a tyre.
You're not saying he doesn't want to make the Aussie boys look bad, do you?
No, not saying that at all, but at the moment he's just driving fantastic.
I've never seen him so pumped. I mean, this morning he turned up with Peter Brock and I said, how you going, mate? And he said, have you seen this crowd? This is fantastic, unbelievable.
He's a fairly sparky sort of a fellow, isn't he? I've been out with him a couple of times and he's definitely not boring, I can say the least.
Well, the funniest thing is he calls Craig Lowndes the Psycho Kid.
That's right.
Yeah, I wonder which one is really the one, eh?
Should be the twins, eh?
They are fairly well similar.
John Bow starting to really close the gap. You can see that picture as they head towards the hairpin. Tony Longhurst in that slightly deranged Falcon running 3rd.
Just looking at the times there, Longhurst's last lap was 6/10 quicker than Bow's last lap, so he's actually gaining quite a bit.
Right, this is the scene of the pits with Alan Jones. Obviously disappointed to be knocked out of that race.
Geez, Murphy's car is really fantastic. After 3 races and the 2 sets of tyres, he's still 2-wheeling it through those turns. It's just they've done an amazing job, and they thoroughly deserve the win today.
And it's amazing that Greg Murphy always pays tribute to the team, right? To the Mobil Holden racing team, the HRT boys, to the hard-working mechanics behind the scenes.
Look at John Bow. This is the fight for 2nd place. Tony Longhurst got right up there with him now. He's just inched that gap down to this now, what we see as we get down towards the later stages of the race. Fantastic performance out of Longhurst, the privateer sort of guy, really. He's sort of only in the scene for 2 years now, and he says that it's been a really steep learning curve just getting into driving one of these things after his BMWs. Now trying to make it stick against JB, but I don't think so, Steve.
And interesting, talking to Tony, he says he's really loving it now. He's got that bug back again, you know, because he knows that his car is competitive. You know, they were third at Bathurst this year. They're right up there, being a lot more. He says this track is a bit like Lakeside from here, fast, flowing, and a bit twisty, but really challenging for the drivers. This whole circuit, this whole part of the circuit, is always flashing the lights to Johnny. Get out of the way, bro. I'm coming through, my big Ford. This is all like Lakeside, and then the back straight, it's a bit more like Sandown.
Yes, it's one of those tracks like Lakeside. It is bumpy, probably a little bit more bumpy than Lakeside, but to really drive hard and go fast and to put in the good lap times, you've got to be committed. There's no doubt about that, and this is one of the hard tracks to commit to.
And it was interesting yesterday when he took me for a drive around the track. I mean, we did 59.7 with a little wee fat Fijian like me inside the car, so he was still going flat out. 39 degrees, though, inside that car. I mean, hitting 40 degrees. No wonder the drivers sweat.
And that was on a cool overcast day. At Bathurst, when it was nice and sunny, they were getting up towards 50 degrees in the cars.
Gets a nice run here out of the hairpin, trying to make this trick stick where he goes around the outside on the left-hander.
Oh,
he's a run over the top of the hill. Let's see if he can do it.
There's a big go over the top of Mobil, Mount of Longhurst and Johnny Bow.
He's done it. Excellent stuff.
That's a very, very brave move from Tony. He actually did a fantastic job there, and Johnny Bow didn't relent it for a second, did he? He hung out there for as long as he could.
No, I didn't see John waving him through it all, that's for sure.
He's actually got his car handling superb. If you have a look, there's a little bit of a lock up there, a little bit of a moment coming onto the back straight, but his car's handling similar to Greg's. It's lifting wheels, it's got plenty of grip, whereas John's just trying to keep the car on the island at the moment.
And of course, Tony Longhurst has won the Wellington Street race before. So is this man, two-time champion, going for number 3, on board with number 05, Peter Brock.
Not turning out to be Brocky's day at the moment. He's back in 8th place, tracking down that Russell Ingall at the moment, and Paul Radisich behind him.
Brocky always looks fantastically cool behind the wheel, doesn't he? I suppose if I don't look that cool after the many years of racing that he's done, I'll probably give it up.
And the driving position here, they've moved their seat back a bit further.
Yes, they've moved everything back. They've moved the pedals back, which the pedals are more like a VW, actually. They come up through the floor apart from down under the dash. And that's to get all the weight transferred back more towards the rear of the car, which balances it out a lot better.
And they're quite low too.
They are. They're basically trying to get the centre of gravity as low as they can, because the less body roll you can get into these cars, the more grip you'll have overall.
And Greg Murphy was saying about this, you can't even see the front of the bonnet.
No, you can't. That's dead right.
That'd be a bit of a worry going down the dipper, wouldn't it?
Yeah, disappear there for a minute. You see a bit of blue sky, then you're back down to the track, so it's not too bad. But it's hard, because when you're behind the car, you've actually got to guess to where the front of the car is before you hit them. And if you hit them, obviously you know where the front of the car is, don't you?
But you never admit it, do you?
No, that's right. You always say that it's some sort of a mistake.
So Brocky trying hard to find a way. Look at this traffic jam here. Glenn Seaton tracking tracking Larry Perkins. These guys fighting for 5th, 6th, 7th places, and Brocky's at the tail end of that little group at the moment.
Geez, it's quite a good tussle, this one, actually, with only 3 laps to go. 2 laps to go now after they cross the finish line.
So it's still Greg Murphy in front, Tony Longhurst second, John Bow third, Dick Johnson fourth, Larry Perkins is fifth, Glenn Seaton sixth, then Russell Ingall, Peter Brock, Radisich, Jones, of course out.
You know, with the way the tyres are that have been knocked away at the chicane down there, I'm not surprised that Tony Longhurst hit him, because of the left front of his car is fairly well dinged in. So
right, yeah, that could be right too. That may be where he sustained the damage. So 2nd place Longhurst, still John Bow holding down the next place.
Hey, he's catching the young fella, isn't he?
He is, I think, indeed.
But let's see what Tony Longhurst can do up on 3 wheels. A little bit of a bounce as they hit the bumps over the top of Mobil Mountain. That's John Bow in third. Can Tony Longhurst close the gap on Greg Murphy? There's the difference. And there's 3rd place, followed by Dick Johnson. So Tony Longhurst trying to make a late move on the last lap. Greg Murphy down the back straight for the last time, going for 3 in a row in the hat trick.
He'll be just cruising now, Greg. He's got plenty of lead. Once you see the cars that far back, you know you can break that extra 10 or 15 metres earlier and just make it to the finish, because there's no points in trying to go for a lap time on the last lap.
He knows he's got the right package. The package that has taken Craig Lowndes to victory in the Australian Touring Car Championships this year. The double at Sandown and Bathurst. A great drive by Greg to get behind the wheel after the disappointment of last year, not even getting behind the wheel when the cars broke down.
You know, you do have to have the package, but you've still got to drive it too, and he's done a fantastic job today.
So here he comes for the last time over the top of Mobil Mountain. Up goes the fist, down goes the checkered flag. Murphy gets the triple.
Great stuff, Greg. Fantastic. Just what the punters wanted to see. And boy, is this ever going to drag him in for Wellington next week. The fight right down to the line. That's Larry Perkins leading and Glenn Seaton. Nice stuff.
So it's 3 in a row for Greg Murphy. #1 3 times today. A sensational Sunday for him.